Welcome to Insights. I hadn't planned on doing this week, but I've decided, because there's so much to say about the physical prepping area, that I wanted to address this again from a biblical perspective. If you did not watch last week's Insights, you might want to, because it gives a backdrop for what I'm saying right now. And so as we go a bit further in this segment, over here on this end of the spectrum are people that are in fear, building their bunker, and they're the ones that get this prepping with kind of a wild-eyed look, reputation, and that kind of a thing. Over here on the other side are basically the people that accuse those people of being wild-eyed and crazy. But over here on this end of the spectrum is, I'm not going to do anything, and I don't really care. And so what does the Bible actually teach? What's in the middle? Again, go back and watch last week's video, but going further this week, there's a couple things I want to highlight. First, in Proverbs 21, verse 20, it explains that the foolish person devours or eats all that he has in his house and then is left with nothing. But the wise person is the one who has a reserve. Now, that's my paraphrase. You might want to look at that for yourself, but it's clearly taught there that the foolish person doesn't have anything on hand because they eat all that they have. Secondly, a verse just in the very next chapter, chapter 22 of Proverbs, verse 3, it says that the fool sees trouble, sees something coming, but just continues on. But the wise person takes note and takes refuge. So again, there's this idea of making some adjustments before that trouble comes. So while this is not a huge theme in Scripture, it is clearly there. And as we looked at last week with Noah, the priority is being righteous with God. That's reflected in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 4, that righteousness does save the person in the day of trouble. But again, with Noah, God also provided a physical ark. Now, I also want to go a bit further in the book of Genesis today, where it's the account of the great famine that comes when Joseph is in prison under Pharaoh's rule. You can read this for yourself. The whole account is Genesis chapters 41 through 47. But Pharaoh gets a dream. Joseph interprets it that there is going to be a massive famine coming and starvation is on the way. And therefore, Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of making storehouses to prepare for the 7 years of famine. Again, whether we look at Joseph and that kingdom, or we look at in Noah's day, they did not take steps of physical preparation because of their lack of faith. They actually heard the word of the Lord in both cases, and they responded in faith. That's why Noah built his ark. That's why Joseph stored up grain for 7 years. The fundamental principle here actually is to hear from God, and that we each do as He leads us. And so let's not find ourselves on either end of that spectrum, making this a polarizing thing. Let's just simply follow what God shows us to do using these scriptures as the foundation. I look forward to seeing you next week on Insights.